Yes.
Well, if you go back to that previous slide,
Yep.
the anecdote you provided said Scott tweeted from his personal account while
Exactly.
on vacation.
Right.
So he was not doing it.
That's right.
But people still knew who it
Everything you say, which is one of my 10 don'ts to come, is on the record. And
Yep.
so yes, even if you are, it's different that if you have an organization that you are running than if you are working for another organization and have other bosses. Yeah, be aware of what their policies are. I know at the Houston Chronicle, I suggested that we come up with a social media policy because I was there before social media was there and realized what the risks were going to be. And for me, one was becoming friends with prominent office holders or following partisans. And so I said right from the front, right up front, we wanted policy where there was nothing wrong with becoming friends with Nancy Pelosi and Tom DeLay. Just don't have all of your friends Republicans or all of your friends Democrats. Don't have all of the causes you like to be on one side of the ideological spectrum.
But I mean, I can understand how there might be a job problem if that particular individual wrote about aviation policy.
Right.
But he's a radio sports announcer.
Right.
And he's simply expressing his frustration with an airline on his own time, on his own personal account.
Right.
Why not have a distinction?
This is where there's the difference between what is right and what is reality.
And what is reality?
Yeah,
Exactly.
the station was wrong. I mean, it was his First Amendment right. There was nothing wrong with that, but his station had a policy, a social media policy that you were not supposed to, even on your personal account. I mean, I have the same thing. I can't give political donations. I can't go to demonstrations unless I'm covering them. It may not be fair. It violates my First Amendment rights, but it's just the reality of my job. I can't be seen as taking sides. So anyway, that's why. And Twitter is that on steroids because it's 140 characters. So and it's very visible and it's immediate. So it adds levels of danger.
And it never goes away, even if you
Right.
delete
It never goes away, even if you delete it. One of my favorite things that we post is deleted tweets from the Texas congressional delegation and Governor Perry. I mean, they're often better than what they keep up there. Yeah, of course.
And in this town, if you work for the government, be very careful what you put on your personal tweet, because
well, yeah.
you could be called a whistleblower or something of that sort.
Right,
even if it's
exactly.
personal and a joke.
All of this is proven,
Very
in the last few weeks has proven everything remains, everything you type remains out there.
Doesn't go away.
And especially for brilliant people like NSA people, I mean, they can find it, even if you don't know how to find it. So other quick don'ts: don't misuse humor. Thou shalt not steal. It's good to give credit. If you see a tweet that's really interesting, don't just steal it. Give credit and say from so-and-so, quote them. Don't use stilted language, meaning don't be boring, don't have an old-fashioned newspaper headline as your tweet. I was saying you want to be clever, but you don't want to be too snarky. Difference between attitude and expertise and snark. And don't personally attack people. I mean, I just see that all the time. It's part of our political discourse, and I just think people are wasting their own capital with me if all they're doing is attacking other people personally as opposed to disagreeing with them, even strongly on issues.
Could you give some examples of the third bullet on that slide?
The stilted language?
Yes, please.
It would be, say if we had Congresswoman introduces legislation with a link to our website, the article, as opposed to Gillibrand, the alleged Gillibrand proposal would bypass chain of command in sexual abuse cases. So it would be writing something like it is an old-fashioned newspaper headline, jury convicts suspect, as opposed to being descriptive with as much information as possible. And it's especially where people automate their tweets to link out something that is being published on another platform. You see it all the time, and again, that's why different platforms are different, and Twitter is really, it's a bad platform for boring headlines. And if you have too many of them, there's nothing wrong with automating tweets. So that, let's just say you have a blog and you want all of your blog posts to go out on your Twitter handle too. It's fine, but be conscious when you write the headlines, because that's what's going out on your Twitter handle, to have headlines that would also look good as tweets. Yes?
I had an ABC News reporter once tell me that she was more likely to find good news stories, ideas from things she saw on Twitter versus things she got in her inbox, but to be to be protective of how often you tweet at her with an idea. Would you say that that's more of a norm amongst the
So
press?
tweet at, there are two ways. People rarely tweet at me with ideas, but if they do, I would appreciate that. But yes, if you do that, that is valuable political capital, and don't do it as a substitute for email and do things I wouldn't be interested in. The way I find story ideas by when I look at my Twitter feed in the morning, and I also, Twitter allows you to organize the people you follow into groups. So I have national politics, Texas congressional delegation, on the media. So I can look at one of my lists, and I can usually find ideas of things either that a member of the delegation has tweeted out, or something in Texas politics that I see that I can then find for the use for the website. So I actually do find more using social media than I do now in my inbox. My inbox is probably about 90%. It's deleted without being read now. It's just sort of the reality with so much coming in and so little value. Yes?
Along those lines, I work for a federal agency, and our Office of Public Affairs is saying that blogs are more effective in getting story placement than press releases.
Yes.
Because it shapes the story, it forms the story, and saves the reporter some time.
You
being able to
see that with the White House all the time. They have a new blog posted. Usually it's on economic data or something like that, or the new immigration study showing immigration is good for immigration reform will be good for the economy. They do a blog post and then send it out as a blog post. I agree wholeheartedly with that. It's not only is it written in a way that's more usable for me, but for whatever reason in my brain, I look at that on a Twitter feed. I'm more likely to click through than if I get a press release from the White House with a boring subject line. So yes, I would agree. Okay, let me quickly go through the other platforms, and then because I want to get to the end, which is sort of 12 take-homes. Facebook, use it because the audience is large. Regular users use it often. You can use more than 140 characters. Easy to present your message, not only through words, but through videos, photo galleries, and you can present your message in a systematic way. If you have a strategy for Facebook, it's a really good way to let your story unfold over a period of time. LinkedIn, it's a great way to create groups around certain topics. I think this is really good for your community and communities. It's a great way to find experts for me as a reporter. So for you, it could be a great way to become an expert or let people know that you are an expert, or you have people who are experts that we may want to talk to or tap into. It helps you build your brand with user-friendly pages that can include articles, academic papers, photos, videos. Look at the profile page on LinkedIn, and they've really improved it over the past year. And you can, I put up some of my favorite articles that I've written, but it also has an easy way if you have academic papers, longer papers. So. And it looks good. It's easy for people to follow. So I really recommend LinkedIn for the professional end of things. Google Plus, I just say be there because it's evolving, but it's the Google brand, which is pretty powerful. And it's a good way to publicize articles and links. Just play with it if you're on Google, if you signed up, even if you don't use it. It's an attractive way for me to see. I follow, say, New York Times, Financial Times, just a few publications there, and then my friends who are on Google Plus, and it's a very nice way for me to see the information. It's user friendly. YouTube, because it has a massive audience, people like videos, and you can do everything from a public service announcement. If you have a 30-second announcement that you want to get out to the 6-hour video of the program today, if Jennifer wants to put it up on the website so that anyone can see it, whether they were here or not.
We didn't sign release forms for her to do that.
No, that's true, and that's, you don't need it on YouTube as long as you're willing to be sued.
I was kidding, Jennifer. I
Danger of
swear.
social media, typos, it's tips, not tops. And number one, to tout your accounts, add the ones that you want to highlight to your email signature, put them at the bottom of your web post or your blogs, on your business cards, on other social network platforms, during public speaking, when you're being interviewed on radio and TV. I mean, I do a regular radio gig, and he always does at Rick Dunham. So that's one. Follow others who tweet or post on your subjects that you care about. Carefully study the social media habits of successful users in your area of expertise and learn from them. I mean, I have watched people, Karen Tumulty is one in the newspaper and magazine business. I mean, she and I both work for national magazines and now both work for big newspapers. I really like the way she does it. I have learned as I followed her. Carefully study the social media habits of successful users. Strategically engage in conversations with successful users. So if I have a conversation with Karen or with Chuck Todd, it's good for me because they have a lot more followers than I have, and so I'm getting to their followers as well as to mine. My followers also like seeing the interaction with them. It's sort of a celebrity guest appearing in your talk of Texas politics. So strategically engage in conversations with them. Follow up. So often, if you follow people who have more followers than you in your area, very often they will follow you and they will discover you. I mean, when people follow me, I look at their Twitter profile, and if I think that I can learn something from them, I'll add them back. A lot of them are Hill staffers, and I think I might learn something. They might tweet something out that would be of interest to me. I never would have followed them, but they followed me. For them, they're strategically following up, and they got my attention. Retweet or share other people's thoughts when they say something particularly interesting. Again, it's another good way to increase your followers and build your community. Join in ongoing conversations in your area of expertise. I talked about this a little before. Be generous in giving credit to the others, and especially when they have scoops. I'm happy to say even my competition scooped me, and then give them credit, because I want people to come and follow me because I'll give them the latest on Texas politics, even if I don't get it first. So I want to be a one-stop shop for everybody of interest. That's part of my mission statement. If you're on Twitter, take advantage of Follow Friday, which is #FF. Every Friday, people have lists of people they suggest you follow. So I do it. I say one time will be our new interns in the DC Bureau, or Texas press secretaries, or new Republican members of the delegation. And often they will either give you a thanks and send it out to their followers, or they will send out their own #FF with you. So it's a way to build the community as well as to serve your followers. Push out links on interesting stories written by others, not just yourselves. I think people sometimes get a little tired if all you're trying to do is drive them to your website. So if I see an interesting story somewhere else, I'll drive my followers to another website. because again, I want to be the authority. Respond as soon as you can if people have comments or questions. Yeah, don't let it go for 3 days. Immediacy is important. And then I say my only warning here is you don't want to get in a flame war. So if somebody is calling you a name, just let it go. And keep control of your social media platform. If this is particularly non-Twitter, take down posts, and if you are the administrator, you can do this. If there's profanity, if there are personal attacks or other inappropriate comment, we sometimes, when we've had these debates, and they are pretty rare, which on Facebook, which I'm glad about, but we will remind our readers that this is a place for intelligent discourse and not to call each other names if that's the case. But don't be afraid to take things down. Easiest way to see your community crumble is to allow trolls, which is troublemakers who just want to come in and blow things up or create controversy to take over your page. So I know we're running out of time. Any last questions here? Okay, we'll start here and then go around. Yes.
Quick question on, because you had mentioned, and I find it enlightening, inspiring that you had admitted making a wrong tweet, just for someone that I did that several years ago, it still hangs over my head, but then corrected it. What's the best way you suggest for correcting, like, a tweet that maybe had a factual error or something like that, like getting out there and
I just did correction. I sent one out and then said, and I apologize. I said what it was, and sent it out. Now, the other thing you can do is you can do messages. You can do messages to people who retweeted you, saying that it was wrong, that what you said was wrong. I mean, I tried to do it. It was immediate. It was within a minute I realized I had made a mistake and corrected it. But if you really want to do it, you follow the people who retweeted you and retweet to them so they're aware of it, that they retweeted something that was factually wrong. But I think the most important thing is to do it up front. And I mean, this was not one that was politically damaging, but I just want my reputation to be someone who doesn't make mistakes, and the rare times I do, I correct them promptly. Yes.
Any guidelines on quotes?
I mean, well, just quote accurately. I mean, quote accurately.
It is from an authoritative source,
Right.
Without injecting your personal views.
Well, especially, I just.
What are the guidelines for being selectively choosing the quotes?
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'll do that if I'm covering a hearing and a congressman says something, I'll have their Twitter handle, colon, and then in quotes what they said. And sometimes if there's an article where they're quoted in an article and I think my readers would be interested in the article, I'll pull out a quote and then I'll have the link to the article so people can see the whole quote in context.
Okay, so do it within context and not controversial quotes. Stay away from controversial quotes.
Well, if a controversial quote's accurate, there's nothing wrong with that to tweet it out there, and you can do it without commentary. Again, you do run the risk that people will say, "Well, you're endorsing it," but I think they understand. For what all of us are doing, that we're trying to spread information, and this is not necessarily that we don't necessarily agree with it. But yeah, I mean, I think quotes are a very good thing to tweet out because people will learn. They may learn something they don't know, and you become more of an expert. Either you were there or you found it. And so if you're at a hearing, I just do pure quote. If you're pulling it from an article, it's good to have both. Or so-and-so told AP or told ABC, colon, quote. Yes?
These various forms of social media, how accessible are they both to readers and also to writers who have disabilities?
Good question. I'm pretty sure Twitter and Facebook are pretty accessible. I don't know about YouTube. I mean, I don't know what that would, what the limitations would be. I mean, again, it would all depend on what the challenge is that you're that you're facing. The bigger ones, I think, deal with it as much as they can. But I don't. That's an excellent question. I don't really know the answer. I would just think that they are conscious, but I can't say that with assurance.
I'm sure somebody here knows the answer. Does somebody want to answer
Wait,
that?
what was the question?
The question was how accessible are Twitter and Facebook and YouTube for people who are blind or deaf?
Facebook is still working on a large portion of accessibility. They're doing better than they were before. For the longest time, their mobile media was more accessible. You'll find more people with low vision or blindness or any sort of visual impairment who will tend to use those platforms on smartphones that have tags.
Go to the m.facebook.com.
Exactly, or you can go to the mobile sites, which tend to work out. YouTube is getting better. It's not great, but I will say that their new captioning platform is really good. If you're making videos for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing, there's really no excuse for you to not caption the video because it's really easy to do.
It's free.
And it's free, yeah. And then a lot of them are still lagging. Oftentimes at our agency, we will find ways around accessibility, cross-posting, transcripts, captioning, things that go hand in hand with it rather than just stand on one thing alone.
And I would just say keep the pressure on. And
Yeah.
if you see weaknesses.
And YouTube did fold eventually. It took them a while, but they did.
Yes. I wanted to ask, your comment about blogs having greater reach than a media release these days to get pickup made me think about bloggers and how bloggers can sometimes serve as surrogates for a cause and allowing your connections with the blogosphere to elevate your message for you. Do you have any insight or guidance on how do you cultivate the right bloggers that you want to be surrogates?
This would be a great whole program unto itself because I saw Ted Cruz, many of you know, the new senator from Texas, did exactly this. He cultivated the right-wing blogosphere, and it really helped him. I mean, they took him seriously. It was an echo for his issues. It also validated. It was third-party validation. But it takes a strategy. It really takes a strategy to know how to do it and to build that community. Now, but one part of the strategy is how do you break into the community, and who is it that you want to target? Who is it who's really important? Who's an opinion leader? That's what he did at the beginning, and he brought them in. I mean, he did that with me 2 years before he ran. He was up here for a CPAC conference, and he sought me out to just have coffee, and that's how he did it. I mean, he spent 2 years building up different people he identified as opinion leaders who would take him seriously, so he wouldn't be just some right-wing wacko running against the rich lieutenant governor. And so, I mean, I'll just use that as a case study. But he studied and figured out who the people were in every way: social media, talk radio, mainstream media, and then targeted them.
Rick, you have been talking a lot about how government officials and agencies are really pushing their message, but the folks here really represent disability organizations, and most of the disability organizations are focused on one particular disability.
Yes.
So can you think of individual interest groups outside the disabilities within it that you think do a particularly good job of being interesting and compelling for reporters such as yourself that we could follow? I mean, some people have said that we should follow the Human Rights Campaign Fund, for example, as an example, but can you list some of the groups that you think are particularly impactful and what it is they do?
This is hard. You're right, they do a good job. I probably need to study to find out. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't have good examples. But I will do that. Get back to you, and I hope we can spread the word on
But
it.
that in itself, doesn't that say something that
Yes.
you, who's
Oh,
obsessed
yes.
with this, can't think of somebody that you think is interesting enough that you really get up in the morning looking for what it is they have to say?
Yes. So it's right. It's not on my political radar screen. And that's probably, I mean, that's a bad thing to concede, but the first thing anyone would have to do is sort of get on my list of people I follow on Twitter, and because then they will be on the radar screen every day. But I mean, it goes two ways. One is that I have not seen it, but others have not reached out to me either to try to get there. But I found that even on the old-fashioned email that I'm not. I mean, that I don't get solicited very often on these issues.
On disability issues.
People don't think of, for whatever reason, don't think of Houston Chronicle or Hearst newspapers as their targeting media.
On that note, I want to go back to Ted Cruz for a second. Y'all, he gets it. He so gets it, and he's one of the few people on this hill who totally gets it about disability issues. And I know that sounds weird talking about him because he's a Republican, but get to know him. He's a human being, and he is awesome. So just for those of you that want to connect the dots.
I'm a little different. I don't endorse any of his political views, but I do say he does social media very well, and the networking with media sources. Yes.
Oftentimes social media is more about content. There's a lot of folks who are involved in social media that are sort of larger than life personalities and have these huge followings that may not be tied to what they do professionally. With that in mind, outside of professional sort of people or subject matter, is there anyone that you follow just because you follow them all the time? You always find them either reading their Facebook or Twitter feeds that might be celebrity, professional sort of organizations.
That's interesting.
I'll even give you an easy one. I follow Nathan Fillion, for instance.
Yeah.
Because he's fun to read.
Yeah, there probably are, and I probably off the top, they're so integrated in that I can't even think of it. I almost say my sports are my guilty pleasures that I have. that I follow various sports related Twitter or on Facebook. But trying to think celebrity. There probably are a couple, and it's funny to say, I can't think off the top of my head, but I know there are several because they do it very well that I follow. But I don't follow any of the teenage pop. Most of them I haven't even heard of. I'm sorry to admit that too, but there are certain celebrities who. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Eva Longoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she's important for Texas politics and Latino issues as well. But she is one, and that was one of probably helped me the most. She retweeted something that I had written, so 3 million people got to see the link to the story. So it doesn't hurt when you engage with people who have that many followers. And you're right, she is very socially conscious and politically aware, as well as being entertaining in the way she does it. There are a few other celebrities who are purely entertaining, but I want to get something other than a chuckle out of it. I still haven't gotten to that point where I just use it purely for entertainment. I always use social media to learn something. I mean, the only time separate is on Facebook with my friends from elementary school, whatever. And that's not really entertainment, but that's personal. Yeah.
What is the etiquette when somebody gets between you and somebody else, like a conversation that you're having on Twitter, and they don't know, they just up and start trying to engage, and they don't know the situation? What's the most polite way to tell them to butt out?
Just ignore them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's so hard.
I mean, usually with Twitter etiquette, if you stop engaging, it will end pretty quickly. I think I've been replaced.
So let me just say that this is a very busy man, and he has brought us a lot of wisdom, and he has also brought us a PowerPoint slide, and we will send that to all of you tomorrow so that you'll all have a copy of his notes. So Rick Dunham, thank you so much.